Hello guys, welcome back to the stream. So today what I will be doing is writing little bit tests and I have some work to do, so maybe I'll have a smaller stream. So starting with last time I wrote the test for Q, both for memory and Redis. The main functionalities were tested here and there. Um, I As you can see, there can be multiple tests for these, but I am just focusing on main functionalities for now. And before that, I need to show you something. Like mm, after the stream, I pushed all the tests and it was panicking. So first thing I deduced was uh, creating good error codes that. And second thing did was running the tests sequentially because tests were running parallelly, and in parallel execution my sequential behavior was not working properly. One bug I solved was in the store.go, in the raw payload file. um, it was converting json.row message if it was equal to empty, but it should be if it was not equals to empty, then it should convert json.row message. Next thing was creating um, uh, adhering to the error codes, because it didn't result in no jobs ready, it resulted in queue is empty, so that's what I expected. And last thing I fixed was adding a runtime to each of these, so that in a cloud environment where the tests run, um, the timing does not issue with the because here we were using time.now, which differs for each of them. So instead of that, I created 100 millisecond timeout and added that as runtime. And that's all we did. Like and got the took the errors into consideration, and that's all I did. So I fixed the CI like this. Now coming to today's work, first thing I will do is I will write test to validate our Lua script. That is DQ ready Lua. So what it does is it calls Redis inside it and returns us appropriate order. Like if it returns 0, that means queue is empty. If it returns 1, then there is no job ready. And if it returns 2 and a job JSON string, that is the job payload, then it's a uh, success. So this is the behavior we need to test firstly. So what I will do is I'll start with the test. Okay. So I have to create a new file, redis underscore lua underscore test. So the package will be Q package, because we'll be using a package can be Q test, no issues. And let's create one test dq lua. That's dq ready lua was that ready lua, as I remember it was this, yeah, dq ready lua. So we are going to test that. We start testing and it runs too fast. Have to add some guardrail to it. Firstly, let's add testing. Okay. So first thing I will do is I will import the client. Client equals to test util dot get redis client. We'll type tick and we will defer the close. We'll create a context to be used. Context dot background. And the next thing I will do is I will check different scenarios. First scenario I will test is p.run empty queue returns code 0. That will be fun testing this. And first thing I need to do is I need to clear test utils dot clear Redis. Next thing we need to do is we need to pass the perimeter of Redis. Yep, we should just wait for comparison. I'll pass the test and the client, test inside and the client. Next thing I will do is I will create a new Redis queue, here queue dot new Redis queue. Sorry, Redis queue, not Redis factory. Okay, so we need a new Redis queue. Let's name it test queue and pass on the client. So I have a test queue. I will check for error. If error not equals to nil, then I will simply say t.println fill to create Redis queue. That's good. Next thing we need to do is check the payload. For that, since we are going to call the Lua script again and again, so since we are going to call the Redis with the Lua script again and again, I will create a function that will just help in that part. So let me create a function. It should be like eval dq Lua. So first we'll pass testing client. We need to pass the not this. We need to pass client. We need to pass context. Not this, and we need to pass not this, not this, not this. We need to put. I don't like this AI. Entering so I don't want the Q key here. Remove this. Firstly, I'll pass the testing, then the client and the context. Then I will pass a Q star Redis Q dot Redis Q dot Redis Q, and I'll pass now time. Now in milliseconds, so it will be in 64, and it should return in 64 and a string, because we are not expecting any error, we are expecting strings. So first let me mark it as a helper function. Let's create res comma err equals to client, should not be a pointer, it should not be client dot eval. Let's pass the context, which will be like context. Instead of writing it context, let's write it ctx, so that I want to pass ctx ready Lua string, this one q dot key. The strings were q dot key and q dot payload key. Payload key. These are the two things we need to pass. The now ms, and we need its result. Dot result. If there's an error, then fail to evaluate Lua script. That's okay. Then we will create parts. How we will create parts is like this. Parts. Okay. res dot Instead of using this, I will use any because this is the new way. Press dot any. If not okay, and length of parts is not equals to 2, but length of parts should be greater than 0, so equals to 0. If length of parts equals to 0, then t dot return expected to a script result. That's okay. Next thing we need to do is we need to get the code and the error. For that, we had a Redis interface to Lua in our Redis queue, but it is not being used. So I will remove this, with the star Redis queue. I will remove this for modeling running dependency, and there was one place where I used q dot, and that should be good to go. What I will do is Redis interface to int64 was it? Let me just check what it does. Redis interface to int64, as I remember, yep, it was the thing which we needed to get the code. So let me just pass along the parts 0, that was the code part. If there is failed to convert Lua script result into, that is not good. Invalid status code. Status code or status code type, because it was converting based on type. If error is not equals to nil, then we will do this. We got the code. Now if code not equals to 2, then we will return the code and an empty string. Yep. Now the code is equal to 2. Then we have to get the payload, comma ERR from ready string to value, string value, parts 1, and we will return this. If error not equals to nil, invalid payload type, and return code payload. So this should work here. Here. Now I have a Redis queue. Now I can do a do a code should be equals to 0 because it's an empty queue. So let's do that. What I will do is code comma payload. We are not interested in payload, but if payload comes, that's also an issue. So we have to check. Eval dq script t.client context queue time dot now. We need to import time. Okay. If code is not equals to 0, expected code 0 for empty queue. Got this. If payload is not empty, then we will expected empty payload for empty queue. Yep. This is what we need, and need to also do this, and anything more we need to do. Q.payload keys. What is it? If I remember, it was payload key as it is, and defined Q has star Redis Q has payload key, not capital P, it was small p. Yep, payload key, and here we should have key instead of capital P function calling. That's where AI is the issue. We have to fix some issues, and the next thing we need to test is if job is not ready, it should return code 1 without removing the job. Sorry, t.run no jobs ready should return uh, no jobs ready returns one code one without removing the job without removing. Okay, I have a test suite here. And the next thing I need to do is firstly I will as usual test utils dot clear redis, then create a queue, and that's all we need. And I don't think there will be error because we have tested in the above sequence. So let's not care about the error. Let's create a new job with the um, hmm. Let's also create a helper function that will add the job into a queue because we will need it further and further in our tests. Okay, so func add uh, job to queue. It will be a helper function. It will take testing. It will also take context because context is always required in every of our functions. Context. It will take Redis client, uh, queue, a job, a score. A score will be 864. That will dictate how the jobs will be structured in the Redis, and a Boolean flag which will tell us if there is payload in the job. Boolean flag. So what the hell? Why is it removing that? Bro, why are you removing that? So it should be like this, and it should be this, and it should be this. Yeah, it doesn't have sense about the code base. So member, let's create a member equals to q dot member for job. We had a function that will create a member. Okay, if with payload, then what we will do is we will create payload error json.master.c. That's what we needed to create, and add that to here. Now we have if error not equals to nil, failed to master job payload. Hmm. Hmm. Then we will set we'll create a hash if error in client.set context q payload member payload. That's we need failed to create that's failed to set job payload in Redis. Yep. If not with payload, then what we will do? Then simply we will skip this part. If error in client.zadd store as this dot error not equals to nil, score as float 64. That's doing good. Member as member. So q dot key, that's also okay. And I think everything looks good to me. Error not equals to nil. Fail to add job to Redis what it set. Yep. And lastly, we will return member. So it should return a string. Oh, what the hell I did? The and it should be code job, and that's all we need to do. So we have a helper function that will add job to a queue. So let's use that. Before using that, let's get the now time. Now ms time dot now dot unix milli. Yep. J1 equals to test utils dot new test job with ID J1. Priority, let's say we have 5 and delay is 0. Okay. Um, what I can do is add job entry. So what it does is it also takes add job to see it takes um the one and it takes with payload. So it takes a score based on score. The score is now ms and based on score we take you. So let's increase the score, let's say by 5,000. Let's increase the score plus 5,000. So it should give us code. The score equals to eval dq if float not equals to 1. Since we need to verify the queue state every time, let's have a helper function for that too. But assert queue state. So what we will need here is a testing context client queue. Next thing we need is we also need two things. A C card length. Does it need a Z card and does it need a hash length? So it yep. Let's construct it. Start testing this and expected members. Instead of expected members, I can have yep, expected members is good. But members are not the only thing we need to check. So what I will have here is instead of this, I can have wanted Z card, comma wanted H length. That will be in 64, and that's all we need. So let me remove this part. This part is not good. Firstly, we will create it as a helper function. Next, we will initiate a Z card. We will set the value of Z card error. That Z card gives us the what we can call is the sorted sets. Should I call length? But it's not particularly the length, but you can understand it's a type of length. So fail to get Z card. Okay. If Z card is not equals to wanted Z card, expected Z card this, wanted Z card in this. Next, H length, it will be hash length equals to client dot H length, and that's the result if error this. And this is what we need to do to assert the queue state. Okay, let's assert the queue state here. Assert queue state T111. Let's run the test. It should work fine. Let's run the whole test suite once. It should work fine. Next thing I need to do is um, I need to test ready job returns payloads and removes the entries. P.run ready job returns payload. It removes uh, entries that will return testing this test vehicle dot here to create a new queue. That just like there to get this to create a job and then utter the queue state. Let me check. Um, okay, let's check. So it's creating a new queue. Okay, setting the time now. And it's setting the score to -1000. So it will be first to be dequeued. It will check the code. It should be equal to 2. Then it will construct the job from by marshalling the JSON, and then got.id is not equals to j1.id expected this, and it should be q00. So hlen and zcard length should be 00. Yep, the tests pass. Next test we need to write is uh, what if there are missing payload entries in the queue? So uh, okay, let's create a test for that too. P.run missing payload entries are skipped. They are skipped. We can see from here. Let me just show you the Lua script. So here, if there is a payload, then only it will go for this. If there is no payload, then it will again result in removing that and looping again. So func tester. Test utils dot clear will clear the Redis. We'll create a new queue. We'll create jobs. Let's create some jobs. Now ms. Sorry. Let's create J2 also. One with the add jobs to queue J1. That's it. J2 and have it. The first job should pop out first. Mm, okay, 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 okay. Let's do it. Code our payload event equal. If code is not equals to, it should be equals to 2 for ready jobs with expected code 2 got percentage t, and next thing we need to do is what is it? Cannot use context as a variable. Context as a Redis universal client value in argument equal equal. Should be client. It should be context. Now it's what to find. So this after this expected, we should expect a code 2. Then we should unmarshal the JSON. JSON dot unmarshal at Q state. It should be 0 and 0. Yep, let's run it. and it works fine. Missing payload entry got skipped. Okay, okay, okay. Next thing we need to do is, if there are only missing payload entries and no Z set, then it should return 0. Only missing payload entries return 0. So, mm, yep, this is what we're doing. We are adding a job entry like this with now.msl this, and we set this to false. Uh, why this did test pass? It shouldn't pass until it's set to true. This is something wrong with the test. I need to check it. ULDQ if code is not equals to 0. The tests are passing, but why did it pass? If I pass on fail, false, how can it get the job part? I need to check this one out. With payload, if it is with payload, then only we marshal and ZA member. Let it do something like this. Member for job. It just adds a sending error and use. Nope, this does not do anything like that. Then how come I get 2 here? Code should be 0 here. There is issue with our, what we call it, Lua script or the testing. We have to debug this. Thing is missing payload entries are skipped. If I send false only once, let's say I send false only once, and I expect j1.id here instead of expected job ID page here. Let's run the test. Why is it passing? Since we are also setting IDQ value with payload as false. So if the payload is false, why is the test passing? That shouldn't be like this. The test shouldn't pass if with payload is set to false. If with payload is set to false, it will directly add the field that is added with the score and member. The member is just a string. So the member string is this, and created as this j.id, j.id. Okay. So I need to check the behavior. Let's go to our Lua script. What the Lua script is calling in rearrange with scores. With scores, we are getting with scores. If items equals to 0, we're already goes to number item 2. Local payload. Redis-backed call hget key to member. The member should fail here, and it should get skipped. So Redis.call hget. Maybe it's issue with Redis, or maybe it's issue with our script. We have to fix this. Let's take assistance. But before taking assistant, I should just check it out. So when I call hget, Let me check. If I call hget with the empty member, like a string which has empty member, what it gives. If I call, did I clear the Redis before that test? One thing I need to check. HPQ. It was clearing Redis. Clear Redis was doing uh, flush DB. It's flushing the DB. I can check the Redis state. Maybe it's the Redis state that's causing the issue. It's also clearing Redis. Redis CLI. Okay. Scan. Empty array. Flush all. After flushing all, still running the cached version. Shouldn't run like this, man. Hmm. And let's say payload and place test. Why does the test not even if both jobs are without payload? That should return it. Give us 0 code is the issue with Lua script or test. We need to pinpoint the issue. Is it with Lua script or with the test? I don't think there's an issue with Lua script as much as um, give me 2 minutes, guys. I have to go somewhere. So let's see. Payload will not be missing a deposit. We will mistake perfect and jobs without payload will be expecting non-zero code. If test calling false positive, that's require ready first script when used it. Oh, yep, 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 yep. We never set the test environment. That's why yesterday the test was failing even when um, it was passing in our local environment. That's the issue. I have to set Redis here. I never set Redis. So these tests all skipped because the Redis based test needed Redis to be set. So now I can cd into our queue internal. That's why I don't test this. Sorry. Go test Redis Lua. We need to test the Redis Lua test. And it's undefined, 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 undefined. What's that thing? Command line arguments dot test. Undefined Redis view, undefined Redis interface. Undefined, undefined, undefined. Why is it undefined? Command executed now to command line build failed. Too many errors. Undefined Redis string value, undefined DQ ready Lua. They are all undefined, even though they are present in our queue package. So what can be the issue here is how come they are all undefined even when we are in the same package? I set up the environment this time. But what? Maybe it's an issue with how I'm running the test because I'm not much. It's not. It's not uh, taking this into consideration. It's thinking about the previous. I said the environment this time, but thought yes. Go test file to verify because go test Redis file is just the single file as package command, so it doesn't include rest of the Q package where Redis-Q, DQ run on the package tests instead. Before go test internal queue dash run test ready. Okay, okay. That was my issue. I didn't know how to run the test singly. So I, that means I learned something new here. So I'll run the test with the test name and count as one. Fail test predicted. It is you expected for two. Yep. This time it's running. So I got error on 175. That is 175 is here. That means it should give us two here. Now it should pass in 180 the unmarked will not pass. And now it should pass. Yep. Now there is no issue. Guys, give me 5 minutes. I have to go take my food. After that, I'll continue the stream. Hello, sorry for the delay. So continuing with where I left, um, now what I need to test is this. I think is done. The tests are passing. I will add a line in the readme that for running Redis-based test, please first set the environment because this was causing me issue yesterday too. So let's now move on to other tests we need to write. Um, the important tests we need to write are, let me think about them. Yep, we never tested the DLQ. We need to test the DLQ, and after that, I will just what I call uh, after testing the DLQ, I will close the stream out. So moving on with the DLQ, as you remember, there are two types of DLQ: in-memory DLQ and our the DLQ for Redis-based operations. So let's write about this. So Redis, new Redis, save, get. No, we didn't create in-memory DLQ. So the testing is only for Redis-based DLQ. So let's create a Redis-based DLQ test and add into, let me add one thing to my references folder improvement.txt. Let's let it be like this. I want to add numbering implementation of DLQ. Where is only Redis based DLQ. At the starting, I planned to have both type of DLQ, but as time went on, I just created the Redis DLQ and moved on. But I'll create it. That's not a big deal. But coming to our DLQ, let's create um, Redis underscore DLQ underscore Redis underscore test dot go. So it will be DLQ underscore test package. What I will do is const test Redis DLQ, not save, but complete test DLQ here, and then you will have this here, then this, and git fix this, import this, close the terminal, close the terminal. Let's create a client as always. Client as test utils dot get Redis client type test type in defer will defer client dot close, and we'll have a context dot background as always. Now coming on to the tests. P dot run save and get. Okay, so we save a job into DLQ, we can get the job back. So let's create test utils dot clear Redis. First we will clear the Redis, then we will create a DLQ. Fail to create this, and next we will do is create job J1. Not create test job, it was new test job J150 J1. Um, let's set J1 dot status as dead, not dead. J1 dot status equals to job dot status dead. Okay, then we will save Get into the DLQ. Got from error in this. It got negative this. This is all right. And the get function in the DLQ. As I remember, DLQ, save get. It takes ID, string, read of this. Get Redis DLQ is not get Redis DLQ. Not test rate utils, it's DLQ dot new Redis DLQ. The client, that's all we need, and here we need P from a client. So let's run the tests and cd to no. We need to run through test slash internal slash DLQ. DLQ is a full of one test suite, so it's running fine for now. Next thing we need to test is what if we try to save an invalid status? P.run save invalid status job. Status pending, expected job. Yeah. And it's working fine. Get status. Got that. Yep, we expected error. Next thing we need to test is delete from the DLQ. D.run delete job. Is it listening to me? Build to create Redis queue, and this is all we did, and then we will create a job, add it into the DLQ, and try to delete it, and try to get it again, and if we try to get it again, it should result in an error, and let's run it again, and that's working fine. Next thing we need to test is what if we need to list the jobs. P.run list jobs. Okay, we'll to create DLQ, new test job J1, J2, just CTX. The length of jobs is not equals to 2, and that's working fine. Last, what if we tried to get a non-existent job? P.run not found. Non-existent and this and this. Let's run it, and everything works fine. So I think I can ship this. This I will not panic this time. And I think major testing is done. Tomorrow I'll have all the cleanup tests, all the remaining tests, and the testing part will be done. After that, we will move on to adding more features, and let's see how it goes. I'm also thinking I will stop streaming after some time, and because I will not be working every day on this, maybe I'll work like randomly, like 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, or maybe full day. So I can't stream that much randomly. So I'm thinking I will stop the streaming after the testing and converting to library. After that, I will, or I can continue it. Let's see. But for now, thanks for watching. Bye bye.